afternoon, and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. Well, it's no secret that many American military veterans face challenges after their service. Those challenges are well documented, from post-traumatic stress to finding employment. Veterans may also face issues related to their health or their housing. But there is a Veterans Administration program that can help. It is the Medical Foster Home Program. It's relatively new, so to find out more, I'm joined by the coordinator of the Medical Foster Home Program. His name is Jim Pierce. Jim, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
You know, for many people, this may be the first time they're hearing about the Medical Foster Home Program, so what is it?
Okay, first of all, I want to thank you so much for this opportunity. It is so important to our program and to the VA to be able to express this program and get it out there. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
The program is designed for veterans who can no longer live independently, and that may be for a variety of reasons. Either they can no longer remember to take their medications, they have no one else, a family member that can come in or that they can live with and live with them and take care of them. So our program is based on caregivers and veterans, and the caregiver would supply 24/7 caregiving, and they would have a backup caregiver. The home itself is generally about an hour away. Well, it is an hour away from several towns here in Vermont. The towns are Brattleboro, Bennington, Rutland, White River Junction, Burlington, and in New Hampshire we have Littleton, New Hampshire.
So the homes have to be located within an hour's drive from those centers?
That's right. That's right.
And so is this a local program or a national program?
It's both. The national program began in about 1998 for the first kind of concept, and it's grown, especially starting in 2005. The program really took off, and it is all over the United States. There are many VAs that have this program, and so for the national level, then it's all over the United States. For the local part are the towns that I mentioned, and we cover both some of New Hampshire and most of Vermont.
What are some of the key components of the program?
There are basically 5 key components. The first is obviously the caregiver. That is very important. We get loving, caring, dedicated caregivers. The second would be the veterans, and so we're looking for veterans with multiple health problems and also that are needing 24/7 care. There is my part of the program as the program administrator, and I am responsible for overseeing the program, making sure everyone's safe, that the caregiver and the veteran are very happy together, and that it is a really, really good fit. The fourth component is the medical component that is delivered to the veteran in the home. So that is delivered by another outstanding program, and it really is outstanding, called Home-Based Primary Care. Home-Based Primary Care brings the medical services, the primary medical services, into the home. It can be, it's made up of a lot of different components. There's a primary care provider, registered nurse, physical therapist, occupational therapist, social worker, psychologist. So all of these services can be provided in the home.
And so is there any research regarding the program?
There is a tremendous amount of research, and honestly, it has been extremely positive. The main components that have been researched or that have shown the most improvement are the fewer emergency room visits, extremely decrease in emergency room visits. Because once you have a veteran who can no longer really take care of themselves, you're having a lot more difficulty with eating, with taking medications. And once that happens, things get very, very complicated.
They can go downhill fast.
Fast. The other part is hospitalizations. There's a significant decrease in hospitalizations. I'd give you the statistics, but I totally can't remember them right
That's
now.
okay.
And rehospitalizations have significantly decreased as well, because once they get home, they have this support system of a caregiver, backup caregivers, the home-based primary care unit, and my part.
Well, tell me a little bit about some of the safety mechanisms or precautions that are part of this program, because that's very important.
It is. Safety is number one, really, for us. We do not want to place any veteran in a home that might be unsafe, and we don't want a caregiver with a veteran who could be unsafe. There are 5 different kinds of assessments that are done for the caregiver. And there is my assessment, and I usually come to the home about 3 times before we really start the assessment part. Then there is the fire and safety inspection. There's an inspection and an assessment by the registered nurse, by the dietitian, and by some kind of either physical therapist or occupational therapist. And so then we all get together and see, okay, is this a place we want to put someone? How do we feel? We also do different kinds of checks, internet checks, some types of background checks, although that is somewhat limited. We want to make sure everyone is safe. Now, for the veterans, we look at their history. We have in the VA system an amazing communication. If someone, say, comes from San Francisco, well, we have all the records in our computer system.
Right.
So we check, okay, have they had a history of violence? Have they had a history of maybe psychotic symptoms that might put someone in risk, although it's very rare that a psychotic symptoms would. So we look at both. Home-based primary care has their assessments, and I have mine as well.
So who can be a caregiver?
Great question. Anyone over 21 can be a caregiver. They don't have to own their home. They can rent the home. Most of the people do own the home. There's a lot of people that come from the nursing background, but a lot of people also who have been professional caregivers or have taken care of family members. The most important traits that we look for: love, compassion, responsibility, kindness, goodness. Those are things that are inherent that one really can't train. You can train, but not fully. So we want that kind of environment for a veteran. And then they can go through, they do go through many, many trainings on different healthcare issues, for mental health care, stress, because it can be stressful to have someone in your home and then
it's a huge responsibility.
Yes, ma'am, it is. It's a huge responsibility. But it's also, believe it or not, I know this sounds a little difficult to believe, it can be extremely rewarding. The people who have done this, obviously there are problems sometimes and it doesn't work out, but the vast majority say they're very satisfied with all of the support systems they get. They're very happy in being able to provide a service for veterans who've risked everything: life, health, family, everything for our country, to protect our country, to serve our country. And it's such a gift. We have several different kinds of explanations of the program on the internet. And there are YouTube videos about the program. The VA has at least one a video about the program, but there's also multiple news stories and a lot of different information. In fact, 8 different news stories that come to mind right now, multiple very helpful information that if one was thinking about this and really wanted to know about it, they could just, if they have the internet, they could do an internet search of the VA medical foster home. And if they don't, well, maybe they can get someone or they can contact me, and I have a lot of information that they can be provided.
And what does it pay?
That's a good question. It varies. In Vermont, the various, it can go from about $2,000 to $3,500 and sometimes a little more.
Is that per month?
Per month,
Yeah.
yes. Now, the reason for this is it mostly depends on the level of the veteran's needs. And of course, if there's someone that has a lot more needs, the caregiver needs to have the ability not only to provide for that person, but also maybe to get some help in there.
What do you need now for this program to be successful?
There are 2 things we absolutely need for right now. We need caregivers. We have about 4 or 5 homes that also look extremely promising. But they're basically in 1 or 2 different areas, the White River Junction area and the Littleton area. So we're really looking for homes in Burlington. We don't have any homes here. Rutland area, Brattleboro and Bennington, those are areas we need the caregivers in, because obviously the program will not be successful unless we have the caregivers. The other part is the veterans, and it takes a certain type of veteran to come into the program, but also the veteran does have to pay for this program. So they can use, if they have VA pensions, they can use that. They can use retirement, Social Security, any way, sometimes family supports. So any way they can have that financial component to be able to afford the program. There's also very, very exciting news that in Congress and in the Senate, United States Congress and Senate, the bill has passed that will, in Congress, that will help fund the program. It is in the Senate right now. It's in the Senate Arms Committee. It just needs a sponsor to get out of that committee and move to the Senate floor to be voted on. And that would be an enormous help. The other thing is sometimes caregivers are financially stable enough that they don't need to make that much money. And so they may offer the services for less money. But that's generally not the case. And I want to go back to the financial component, if that's okay.
Sure.
It's really important for most people to have at least 2 veterans in Vermont and 2 or 3 in New Hampshire, because that obviously will help the financial component.
So if you're a caregiver for one, if you can give for 2, that's much more financially
That's
stable.
right,
Yeah.
because the fee I quoted is per veteran. So if you have 2, then you get, then that money is provided.
But then again, as a caregiver, you're expected to give 24/7 care, have a backup caregiver ready if you're taking time off, supply meals.
That's correct.
Yep.
We really look for 2 backup caregivers, although that's not always possible. 1 non-family member and 1 family member, because what if there's a family emergency?
Right.
And so we need a backup caregiver that's not a family member. But again, they're checked, safety issues, and the caregiver needs to be able to pay them if they some people don't want to be paid, but to be able to pay for them. They may need a weekend off.
Right.
They may need some time off. So that would be the backup caregiver's role. But the veteran also gets 30 days of respite. So if the caregiver and their family need to go somewhere for a couple of weeks, we will find a place for the veteran to go for those weeks.
Now, if people are watching this and they're interested in more information, what should they do? You have a phone number?
I do, and I really want for them to be able to contact me at the VA. That number is 802-295-9363, and my extension is 5337. And we have obviously the answering machines and everything if they don't reach me, but I will call them back as soon as I can.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a really interesting program.
Thank you. I am so honored and thrilled. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. That's our program for today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. We'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.